Real estate strategy without the spin. Here's what you missed from this week's Friday Focus on KGCI, Real Estate on Air.
I was always building businesses and helping other businesses grow that didn't belong to me. I was an employee of these companies. And after a long tenure with different organizations, I said, it's time for me to do this for us, to do this for my family. And that's when in 2019, I started Falconi Capital, which we invest in multifamily properties and we do syndications.
I used to chase the ROI all the time, return on investment. And over the course of time, that has evolved into what I call return on life. Welcome back, everyone. This is Randy Dick on the Return on Life podcast. And we've got another amazing episode. This time we're going to go a little bit different than the last one. We're actually going to be speaking with a serial investor. And, and I've got a great guest, Natasha Falconi, out of the Miami area, and she's done just about everything you can think of when it comes to investing. She's an accountant, or has been an accountant, chair of a bank, property manager, and of course, you got to be an investor if you're going to help other people invest too. So welcome here, Natasha.
Thank you so much. Thanks so much for inviting me on your podcast. I'm looking forward to our conversation.
Well, it is about return on life. It's not about always the ROI as we often think it is. And so I'm curious and really excited to hear how you manage return on life in return on investment. And so when you think of return on life, what comes to your mind?
Return on life for me would be, it's almost like they're combined, and I'll tell you why. It's because my return on investment has given me the opportunities to have a return on life. And what that means is just the freedom to make my own decisions as to how we live our lives. And that can be a vacation, or that can be just time with family, or whatever, we decide.
Right. Well, and we all want, I think everybody, I'm going to say everybody wants, a piece of, enjoyment in life, have the flexibility, and then that F word called freedom. They want some freedom.
Yes.
And of course, we want all this in one package. And I sometimes think people think it's really easy to find that package, but it's not always that easy. However, it's about finding the who rather than the how often. People to lead you down that journey or that path to that F word of freedom. And I think that's really essentially what you help people do. Am I right?
Absolutely. That is correct. I like to think that I provide information and also the ability to, based on, and we'll get into that, but based on the investments that I do, provide passive income for others so that they can have that freedom that they're looking for, whatever it looks like, because I think it's important to point out that it's different for everybody. And whatever is right for you could be different for someone else, and it's all good. And freedom is different in different stages of your life as well.
Was there a moment or a crucible moment, a time, something that flipped the switch for you and said, man, I've got to do this, or I've got to dig into this? Was it something, or did it just kind of like naturally a progressive thing come together for you?
In reference to into my investments, you're saying?
In this concept of return on life through return on investment.
I believe that I've always created that return on life for myself. Like I mentioned before, based on all the different stages that I've been in my life, a return when my boys were little, return on life was being able to be the mom that I wanted to be, and be present for them at school and at home while I was an executive working. And then they got older, and return on life became more about different experiences. It's always been about experiences and different ways, and just spending time. And you need the return on investment to have that return on life, in my opinion.
And how long have you been doing this?
Well, I've been in the real estate world for over, I would say, 25 years, a little over 25 years, but I started my firm in 2019.
Okay. And what was the catalyst that started the firm in 2019? Was it just something that said, I've got to do this, or was it like a moment of whatever?
I was, I have always been an entrepreneur and I didn't know it.
Hmm.
I was always building businesses and helping other businesses grow that didn't belong to me. I was an employee of these companies.
Hmm.
And after a long tenure with a different organization, I said, it's time for me to do this for us, for to do this for my family. And that's when in 2019 I started Falconi Capital, which we invest in multifamily properties and we do syndications.
Right on. And is it mostly multifamily that you work with?
Only multifamily
Only
in
multifamily.
specific markets.
And what are the specific markets?
So I invest in Hialeah and Little Havana, which are two markets in the Miami area.
Awesome. I've been to Little Havana.
Oh, great.
Yeah, yeah. Hit a couple of great restaurants last time I was in Miami. What a fun spot that was. Uh,
Fabulous restaurants, wonderful culture, a fabulous place.
Now, I mean, I'm an investor as well, and I pick my areas for certain reasons. Why are these two specific areas important for you? Is it because it's close to home, it's location, or there's some economic value to it? Like, why did you pick these two markets, these two areas?
So I'm first generation American. And when I was growing up, I lived in Hialeah. So I lived in areas similar to I lived there, and Little Havana is similar as well. And I decided that those were two markets that um the buildings that I choose, I make them fabulous for the residents. And I believe that everyone should live in a place that they call home.
Hmm.
And so I began looking at these buildings that were in a little disrepair, making them very nice, and then having places for people that potentially just came to this country. Um, I give them an opportunity to live somewhere fabulous. That's where I lived. I mean, I started out living in efficiencies and small one bedrooms with my mother, and so I've kind of gone full circle and now, but created better places for new immigrants to live.
That is really cool. It's really cool. There's always change agents. There's always something that is within us that drives us to do things. And to hear that, that's really, really special, Natasha. I thank you for sharing that. And so I see your passion to make life better, and make better places for other immigrants to come and live in as well. The unit sizes, what are it? So they're one bedroom, two bedrooms. How many units to a building do you choose and pick that, or is it just all about the numbers?
So it's yes to to all those questions. So I pick the assets based on geography.
Mm, mhm.
So for example, we own a 30-unit building. They're all one bedrooms in Hialeah, but on that same block, there's a 6-unit building. I would buy that if it was available. So I don't say that I would only buy X because I'm buying geography is what I'm investing in. And so I believe that by doing it in that fashion, I don't pigeonhole myself into saying I only buy this and above. And you asked about proximity. So it's one, I believe in these areas and I believe in the growth of these markets. That's the first thing. I want to help the communities in these markets. That's the other reason why I chose it. And I also believe in investing where you live. So I'm probably 20 minutes away from both of these markets that I can get to pretty quickly. And I think it's important to be able to visit your assets regularly.
Absolutely. No, I absolutely love driving by every one of my properties, and just checking it out, making sure that everything's, still put together. And even though there's property management running the buildings, or there's a property manager within the building, but there's still something special about being able to drive by it and just feel it, because nobody understands it like you do. Nobody feels it
100%.
like you do.
Hmm.
Nobody smells it like you do either. And so
Yeah.
there's so much value to being, that proximity of being close by. Um, what is there any spin-off business from this, or is it just purely the building itself, the cash flow itself, the cap rate itself, or are there other pieces of this? Because there's always lots of opportunity because you're connecting and networking with so many people. Do you have any
Hmm.
other spin-off businesses because of this?
I don't have any other spin-off businesses. My focus is 100% on purchasing multifamily properties in these markets and
Mhm.
continuing to grow the portfolio, and then provide. So I mentioned that I syndicate, and so I have partners as well that I limited partners, silent partners, I should say, that also get the opportunity to invest alongside me.
Let's talk about that process a little bit because I think that's really important for our listeners to understand that, here's somebody that is, active, busy, successful in doing this. What if I had some money? What if I had some opportunity to find some capital to invest? But where do I invest it? Who do I invest it with? Share a little bit about the process that you walk people through that may want to invest in real estate in Miami.
I love that question because I believe it's very important. For first, I think everyone should be investing in real estate, regardless of what you do in life. You can invest passively in real estate, and I believe that is the the path to generational wealth and increasing your net worth. So, with that being said, I believe it's important that everyone ask many questions to a GP before they invest with them. And so, what are the types of things that I talk to about with my limited partners? Understanding how long you're going to hold a property. I'm a long-term holder of real estate. I believe in the long game. So, someone that invests alongside me would have to believe in that philosophy, um, understanding what the returns are going to be and when the distributions are going to begin or what's projected. For example, in many of my opportunities, we spend the first year renovating and investing capital back into the property. And so even though the distributions are promised, they're not paid right the first year because it depends on the opportunity. We've had opportunities that are like that, so they accrue. Those are things you have to be upfront with potential investors so that they know exactly what to expect to make sure that the opportunity is something that is matches what they need or what they want.
Natasha, I'm going to back up a little bit because some of our listeners may not know what a GP is and
Okay.
what is a GP and what is the role of a GP.
Okay, so a GP is a general partner, and then an LP is a limited partner. So the role of a GP when you buy a building, in this case, let's say a multifamily building, the GP is responsible for the day-to-day operations and managing the asset and the investment. So they deal with everything having to do with the investment. The limited partner invests in the opportunity as well, and they're a passive investor. So basically, I have a friend and investor that has invested in all of my in four of my opportunities, and she loves to say, "I give a check and I get a check," and so that's what the limited partner is.
Mm.
So it's important for the limited partners to know the general partners, understand what they do, what their philosophy is, what their track record has been, before they actually trust them with their investment, with their
Awesome.
money.
Yeah, that's great. Thank you for that quick explanation of that because there's going to be a few people that probably go, "What is a GP?" And so that was really great. Investing is not something, especially in real estate, it's not something that you just go, "Well, I'm going to do it. I'm just going to check it out." It's something that you need to really process and think about. And I often find for myself, anyways, 5 years is kind of the minimum amount of time I'm going to invest. And actually, 10 is probably more appropriate. What is your idea of how long would you hold a property, or are you holding it indefinitely? Is this a 5, 10, 25-year hold? What is your plan when it comes to best practices for your portfolio?
My philosophy is long term. And so I underwrite when I buy a property, I underwrite everything between 7 and 10 years because you need an end point in order to understand what the returns are.
Mhm.
The ultimate thing would be to be able to keep it for a very, very long time and just give back all of the capital and enjoy the returns. But the other side of that coin is the prudent thing to do is to make sure that you're regularly evaluating the opportunity to see if the time is right to actually sell it. So you set a plan, long term hold, but you're always evaluating what makes most sense.
Absolutely. Yeah. It's like running down the freeway. You always want to have a few exits along the way just in case. And
Yeah, you want to know it's possible.
yeah, absolutely. What are some of the biggest challenges you're finding right now? Is a challenge finding the properties? Is it cash flowing them? What's the cap rate? What are some of the things that maybe a potential investor could see?
I would say that the most difficult thing right now is acquiring assets.
Mm,
There's still a disconnect between buyers and sellers, and as far as where the pricing should be, but that's just part of the situation and the cycles that we go through. And you need to be patient and make sure that you're finding the right opportunities. As far as cap rates are concerned, I think it varies deal to deal on how what's most important is how you enter an opportunity. But I would never say I'm entering an opportunity only at such a cap rate, because sometimes you're buying something that has a lot of upside in year one, and then year two could be a better, could improve the cap rate dramatically from what you bought it for. So every investment is different. What you need to, I believe, what I look at is to make sure that in the long term, in the first 3 to 5 years, that we're able to capture those returns that are required by the investors.
hmm Is your financing of the creative side, or are you mostly dealing with stronger lending institutions, or do you vendor takebacks, anything like that?
It's a mix. I mean, we have I have seller finance opportunity deals. I have local bank loans. I have institutional loans as well. So depending on the opportunity is how I source the lending.
I love that. Success is really about proximity of power, um, in whatever it is. And it is relevant, in investing in property as well, because there's all of these pieces that come together and all these different people that are involved in every different piece. How do you view the proximity of power program when you think of buying property?
The proximity of power. I'm not even sure how to
For
answer
these
that.
people,
Like,
like it's really about the who and not always about the how. And we're talking
yeah.
about how you are the who, where people, I don't know how to do this, but boy, Natasha's the who. So I'm going to bring my money and my capital to Natasha. Of course, there's everything from bankers, inspectors, even even city support staff and admin that still kind of make everything work. And I'm sure you're very connected in all these places.
You know, I focus on relationships uh, just in general. So as far as being connected, I believe in helping others,
Mm.
and that's how you develop great relationships. Many of my investors have come from becoming friends and having relationships with other people that have introduced me to them. Um, just being good to the community brings you more relationships. I believe that when you show up open, the power just is innate and natural.
I love that. When you show up open, and open, I define as trust.
Hmm.
You show up and you are trustworthy. And trust is such a major component. In fact, I would say that every one of us has a trust meter that is always going off. Every conversation we have, every meeting we have, every decision we have, that trust meter is going off.
Hmm.
And I think that trust meter has different scales depending on who we are as individuals, too. How trusting are we of others also is giving us more openness or more trust to allow us to feel other people's trust levels as well.
Hmm.
So it's really, really important. I love that you said it's about being open. Can you give us a story or a moment where that tipped somebody over and said, man, Natasha, this is where I'm bringing my capital today?
I've been very fortunate that, I mean, raising capital is not easy. Let's start there. That's not an easy thing because there will be people that even like the opportunity, but are not in a place at that time to invest with you.
Yeah.
I have been told I love the opportunity, but I don't want a long-term investment. But then I have others that barely look at the offering memorandum and say, I'm betting on you. So I believe that it's most important to invest in the person first and in the deal second, because all investments, bad things can happen. And when bad things happen, then good people that understand, and what I mean by good is people that understand what they're doing, have a higher chance of making the opportunity better or turning around the opportunity than not. And so a stories in reference to how, with my investors, I've been very fortunate that I've I was told yesterday by one of my investors, and because I ask this question often, like, what makes you decide to invest with me, or what makes you decide to invest with any GP? And she said, well, I trust you, and which is like becoming a theme of this conversation. I trust you, and I will give you my money to invest in these opportunities because I see what you've done. Now, that is a privilege. That is an absolute privilege.
Hmm. Yeah, love that answer. Love that answer. Along the way, I'm sure you've had some people that have influenced you, coached you, mentored you along the way. Anybody that you want to give a shout out to or say how they have actually, moved you 1, 2, 3 degrees of direction to really make it worthwhile?
Yes. Well, I will say that this company, I was able to start my investment journey because my husband pushed me to start my first investment. And so he is the first one, I would say, like the first catalyst that would say, you should go buy that building. You should go do that. So thanks to him, this business has taken off. And so that's the first person that I would mention. And then secondly, I am very fortunate to have a strong network of people that I have relationships with. For example, I have a very good friend and partner in my deals, Beth Azor, that is a champion for women investing in real estate, and she has been a friend and a mentor, and not only an investor but a friend and a mentor, and is I am always reaching out to her, and we have conversations regularly about what I'm doing, and she helps me a great deal. She's just that kind of person. Talk about being kind and giving, and what we were talking about before. This is an individual that created a women's summit to encourage more women to invest in real estate. That was the reason. And it's just amazing.
There's a great lesson there. You need to go into spaces and areas that make you uncomfortable. In fact, I have a saying, self-induced vulnerability brings out my greatest gifts. When I put myself in positions that I go, oh my goodness, this is really uncomfortable. I don't know if I can do this. That's where my greatest gifts appear and come.
Yes.
So, make sure that you're getting out there. So listeners, if you're out there and you want to expand, you want to expand who you are, what you do, you have to put yourselves in rooms that you're not
Yes.
comfortable with.
Yes. That is the sign that you're moving forward.
Hmm.
That is the sign that you're moving forward. Definitely. I agree with you. It's never been comfortable to buy a building. It's not- it's scary, there's fear, it's not comfortable, but then you start seeing the results of your effort, and it's okay, this is fabulous.
Yes. Yes. But fear is one of those things. So fear is one of those things that we're born with. I mean, it's just this instinct
Mhm.
within our core. It's one of those prima powers, and we can use it for or against things, as well as doubt. Doubt is one of those things that comes up all the time. And I always say doubt is not something to make you stop. It's just slowing you down so you don't miss the details. It's a
Yes.
speed bump. And so, for our listeners, and you could probably bring up many stories, and maybe you want to bring up a story of where you doubted something and you weren't quite sure, but you pushed through it and it turned out to be amazing. Do you have a story like that?
Oh, absolutely. So one of the properties that we purchased was a 16 unit studios in Hialeah. And at first, when I saw that opportunity, I was like, I am not buying studio apartments.
Mm.
And I didn't have a real reason. I decided with that, that's not something I wanted to invest. I went back and saw it again, and my husband said, this is a great opportunity. I really think that you should consider it. So because of his encouragement, I went back and looked at it. The numbers look good, and I said, "Okay, let's buy it." So I buy this building, and it is one of our. It's accomplished two things. It's one of our best performing assets, and secondly, it has become a funnel for the other buildings that we have nearby. So people move into the studios when that's all that they can afford. They either just got here from another country or they're getting started. And after a year or so, they tell us, oh, we want to move into something larger. And they've become a funnel into our other one bedrooms and two bedrooms. So it's been win win in all areas in that particular property.
Yeah. I'm going to come back to that a little bit, but I just want to touch on this. We have unconscious, unbiased decision making.
Hmm.
And you had that, yet you fought through it, or you had someone
Yes,
come in and help you. Um, People, when you're out there, don't just go with what's in your mind. Like, go and help, get the help from others to see past some of the stuff. So very important.
yeah, explore before you close that door.
Yes, yes, love that. Um, I love this that you're using one of your buildings to then graduate tenants to another. What are you doing to maintain those great relationships? Because it's one thing to get a tenant, but it's another thing to keep a tenant. And then it's another thing to have them just want to hang out with you for the next decade or two, because that takes care of the payment of the building. What are you doing to just maintain those great relationships as your tenants?
I think that what we like to do with our residents is show up. And what I mean by that is if someone calls about an issue or if somebody reaches out because there's a problem, we are very responsive. And so there's this thought that because you're in B or C class properties, that you shouldn't treat your residents as if they lived in an A class property.
Mm.
And so my philosophy is to use A class treatment, A class expectations, A class on repairs and maintenance to make sure that we meet with what my expectations would be for myself, and that is what we apply to the properties. And I think that is what has allowed for really good relationships with our residents.
Love that. One of the other things that I found really successful is when you actually recognize the children. See, we have children, and if we see as a parent they're being recognized in some way, so maybe that's and this may not work in your world, but a playground, or there's backpacks delivered for the week before school for
That's very nice. That's
those
very
kind
nice.
of things. And when the kids are excited about living somewhere, the parents are excited about living there.
Mhm.
So
Absolutely.
I'm sure you're doing some of those things too. That is awesome. Let's move on a little bit here, and let's talk a little bit about maybe how maybe how technology has helped you. Do you use technology in your buildings, in your tenancy agreements, and how you function your business?
Yes, I have there. We use primarily two softwares. We use a software for communicating and the accounting and property management and communication with our residents. And
Mhm.
then we have another software that we use for communication with our investors.
Fantastic. And your investors, are they from a local area around Miami, or do you have investors from all over the
They're
globe?
all over the US.
Okay, fantastic. How many investors do you work with right now?
Right now, in total, I have about 42 investors, but it's different in every opportunity.
Mhm.
and all people that I know and know me, and that have, and many invest in several of my opportunities.
That's awesome. Let's talk a little bit about the investor. Your perfect investor, just so when listeners are listening to this and they go, hey, that's me. That's me. What does that look like for Natasha?
The perfect investor, it really is someone that believes, first believes in my philosophy on improving and making a difference in these communities.
Mm,
Believes in the long-term hold of real estate, and of course agrees with the returns, because investor yes, they love the mission, but also where there's a good return on their investment. So as if I'm providing a good return to them and I'm making a difference in these communities, then it's win-win for everyone.
mm. I love that word mission. Love that word mission that you brought up. So it's really about the mission. They need to see the mission or the vision that you have for not only the building, not only the area, but actually for your residents, which is probably the
Yes.
most important piece of that. How long do your residents usually stay in your ecosystem, in your world?
It varies. We have residents that have been there for a very long time and are still there from when we acquired. And then there's others that spend a year or two and then graduate to other investments. So we've had people leave because they buy homes. It's a mix.
Mhm. Fantastic. Do you have any other value add items that you have in your investment buildings, whether it be um, no, it could be value add for the resident, but it could be also value add for the investor. Are there any other things that you do that's maybe different?
Well, one of the things that we do immediately whenever I buy a property is, we're in South Florida. I immediately change all the windows and doors to impact resistant. That's the first thing we do. So
Mm,
that we make sure that there's safety for the residents. We're protecting the asset, we're protecting the residents, and we don't have to scramble like everyone else to take care of the building when there's a storm coming. So I would say that is one of the first things that is, it's a capital investment, but it's value add in a lot of area. It improves the value of the asset. It improves the quality of for the resident. So I would say that's a big one.
mm. I love that. And we always think that we're winning, we're always finding success, but has there been anything that has limited your success at this point and that you've taken note of and you're going, okay, I've changed that or I am going to change that? Anything that's limited your success?
What has limited my success? I believe that, we talked about it earlier. Fear is something that postponed my success in,
Mm,
or the success that that I'm having today and what I'm doing, because I waited a long time to start my own business. I mean, that's behind me now, but I believe that is what fear of starting my own thing, my own investment, my own business, um I think was limiting for me. It was limiting for me, but that's in the past and we move forward, and now we keep moving.
that's awesome. What words of encouragement can you give our listener on that? Because that, I think a lot of us live in that space where we're just like, should I do this? Should I not? What if it goes wrong? What if, what if, what if? What can you give our listeners as a piece of encouragement?
What if it goes wrong? But what if it goes really right?
Uh,
So I would say that if you are thinking about anything that you want to do, but if you're thinking about investing in real estate, or you're thinking about um, wanting to change your life, I would say whatever that is, just go do it. Start doing it. So if you, for example, if you want to invest in real estate, but you don't know what to do and it's very overwhelming, well, invest passively and learn from somebody. Watch them and watch what they're doing. Because there is a misconception that you need a lot of money to invest in real estate. And the truth is, you can use an IRA to invest in real estate. You can invest in opportunities with as low as $25,000. And you can use that as an investment and use that as a tool to learn on that investment that you're participating in. So there are, I would say, my piece of advice is just get started. Start.
Well, Nike had it right when they said, just do it. Just go.
Just do it. Exactly. I'm saying, yes, just start. Exactly.
Awesome. Let's finish it off with a speed round. Are you ready, Natasha?
Let's go.
Okay. Fine dining, takeout, Uber Eats, or
Fine
home
dining.
meal? Fine
Oh,
dining.
you can stop at fine dining.
What's your favorite restaurant in Miami? If we're bringing people to Miami, where are we going?
Oh, well, it depends. That's not speed round because I would take you to Cuban food if you've never had it before. But I love a Asian restaurant by the name Hakkasan in the Fontainebleau that I love. But I love to eat, period. So there's many that I enjoy.
Okay, well, I'm gonna send you a private email, private DM saying where should I go for this or that, because I am
There you go.
awesome. What do you do to let your hair down? What's a day for Natasha when I got nothing going on? I can just go and be Natasha. What do you do?
I love to read when we're out of town. I love to hike. I love to walk and exercise, and I love to relax.
Awesome, awesome stuff. What is your favorite band? And there's just so much music.
Oh my gosh. Okay, so my favorite, since I don't know, 8 years old, his name is Willie Chirino, a Cuban artist.
Okay, I don't know that. I'm gonna go look it up. Say it again slower.
Willie Chirino.
Okay,
I have been following him since I'm 10.
love it. I'm gonna look that one up. Do you prefer to text, email, phone, or in person?
In person is my favorite.
I knew that was going to be that answer. Audible or book?
Both.
Both. Okay.
If I'm driving, Audible. If I'm home, book.
Do you have an Audible and the hard copy of the same
No,
book?
no.
Okay.
I do. I pick books for the car and I pick books for the house for home.
Okay. What's a car book? What does a car book look like?
So the car book, I'm reading the new Gary V book. So I have that there, and then a paper book that I love that I would recommend to everyone should listen is 10x is better than 2x.
Great read. Yeah. Dan Sullivan and Benjamin Hart.
Mhm.
Great read. Great read.
Yes.
While we're talking about great books, I'm going to share one that I'm reading right now. I just finished Gino Wickman on Shine. If you're a busy entrepreneur, this book is a must read. Shine by Gino Wickman. Great read.
Oof. Okay. I'm going to pick that up.
Okay. Last question. Natasha, if you're a scratch and sniff sticker, if you're a scratch and sniff sticker and I came up and I rubbed your shoulder, what would I smell?
Oh my gosh. Strawberries.
Strawberries. Why strawberries?
Because I'm thinking about the scratch and sniff stickers that I had when I was younger. I was a sticker collector.
Awesome. Well, that's a great answer. Natasha, thank you. Thank you so much for being such an incredible guest on the Return to Life podcast. I'm sure our listeners got so much value out of what to do as far as investing, on the value of trust, and what is the best scratch and sniff sticker out there, which is
I love it. I love it. If any of your listeners want to learn more about real estate or multifamily investing, please feel free to reach out to me. I'm on Instagram, Twitter, and LinkedIn, and Nat Falconi.
right on. Thank you so much, Natasha.
Thank you.
Take care.
Bye. Thank you so much.